Hello, everyone. Yeah, I want to just really quickly before we get into the show here, and I'm going to see if I can. Oh, the chat. I think I have the wrong chat going here or something. But anyway, that doesn't matter. I will get to you guys in the live chat shortly. Yeah, before I go any further, I just wanted to thank Mike, Russ, and everybody else for this week because I've had issues with my son, who you guys may know has a condition called amplified muscular pain syndrome. It's rough sometimes, and this week was really bad with a big flare-up of things. So we were at CHOP this morning. Everything went pretty well. CHOP is the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So I'm back, and I appreciate you guys jumping on. And I saw some people ripping on Mike and Russ in the comments on YouTube, like, oh, literally, guys.
Yeah, actually, it was a Leaf fan who said I was being too negative about the Leafs, and to that fan, I have to basically say, go bleep.
Well, no, there's like 1,000 fans that will say the opposite about you with the Leafs, and different people, and everybody will say everything. But I just wanted to thank you guys because honestly, and to be fair, guys who've been watching the show, I'm sure they're doing a great job. Because honestly, I'm telling them like at 2:59 that I can't be there at 3 o'clock. So it's been crazy. You guys have jumped on and done a phenomenal job. So I really wanted to thank you for that. Okay. And hopefully next week we'll be fine. Just want to throw that out there. For some reason, my camera doesn't want to focus on me, does it?
It's fine. It looks fine.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. It's just as well. All right. Just as well. Because there you have it. Excellent. All right. So I did a little fun thing yesterday. So I know you guys, I don't know how many of you guys out there are into the March Madness thing or not, but I always like to go through and pick them as if the NHL, as if they were playing basketball, hockey, these teams instead of basketball against each other. Okay. As if they were playing hockey, who would win? So suddenly like North Dakota State versus Duke becomes a very different game, the 1 versus 16 Duke, and it's fun to go through and find out, what I went through all 64 teams to find out who had hockey teams, and this was the first. This time actually Division 1, 2, or 3 hockey programs. Who has them? Because a lot of places just have clubs.
I don't think Duke has a hockey team.
They don't. They have a club. But it was funny. Like the ones who did, like Texas Tech, places that I wasn't expecting. I mean, I guess Iona. I guess I should have figured Iona, but they're like a division. They're like a Division 1.
Yeah, I would think Iona would. Yeah.
Is Bobby Knight coaching the Texas Tech hockey team?
You wonder. I mean, obviously not, but it's interesting to see the different ones, and who would play each other. And Arizona State, of course, because Arizona State has a great hockey program.
They do.
And probably of all the teams in both, I was trying to think because Wisconsin, Michigan, Michigan State, did they get beaten yesterday?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I think they got knocked out in the NCAA yesterday. They're pretty highly ranked. Anyway, that's how much we follow basketball around here, guys. But
I gave up when Chris Webber wasn't on the team.
But the ironic thing is because the big matchup around here, starting right after we end the show today, is Arizona State that you mentioned.
Yeah.
The University of Buffalo. The University of Buffalo doesn't have a team. They don't have a Division I hockey team. Arizona State has a Division I.
A great Division I hockey team.
Yeah, which is bizarre because it's
and one of the best, And so I went through it with our friend Julie Robenheimer, just because I was curious. I'm like, how would some of these teams play against each other? And I meant to post this, but of course, family stuff got in the way. But it was crazy. But just to tell you guys, we came up with the winner of the tournament, which is pretty funny, because some of the games would be really good. For example, there was. You have Michigan State versus Minnesota would be a second round matchup, which is like a really good, good hockey game.
Yeah.
Yale would play the winner of that game, because Yale's got obviously a good hockey team. And then Arizona State would end up playing Michigan, to which
they would get destroyed, but whatever.
Arizona State?
Yeah, they would get destroyed. They have a goalie. That's about it. They would get destroyed.
Yeah, we had them losing. I know that they would get destroyed. And then the other bracket, the other side of things, so if you're looking at your bracket, usually like the right side of things, I don't know what those are. There are far less hockey teams over there. It'd be funny to write like the reports of Ohio State versus the Seton Hall club team, that kind of thing. But but on the other side, it ends up with Ohio State versus Northeastern.
That's really good. Actually, Northeastern probably wins, but that's a really good game.
That's what Julie's like. Julie's like, oh man, that would be a great game.
I would.
She went with Northeastern because of Prima.
Yeah.
Just because of Prima, basically.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, we have a Northeastern versus Michigan battle for the top, and it's kind of close to the call. We weren't sure, but I went with Michigan.
I would take Northeastern.
What I was surprised at is there's a college named Murray State, and why they named a college after the cop from The Odd Couple is I don't get it.
Yeah. Oh man. You guys in the chat room are awesome. Thank you very much for all the family regards. I really appreciate it. Bravest kid I know. This is my 14-year-old son. Bravest person I know. Unbelievable. So really good stuff, and he's doing fine. So we're taking him. We're getting away. We're going to Margate. We're going heading down to South Jersey this weekend, Russ. Just to get the hell out of Dodge for a bit,
Actually, just to show you, Eck, how bad the offense is for Arizona State. Their leading scorer is a guy named Johnny Walker.
Really?
Do they wear blue or red or black?
Like I said before, the funny thing about Arizona State is one of their players who I can't remember his name right now. And he's not the star or anything like that, but he's one of their rough or whatever, just like grinder type players. Is dating and is a star on the MTV reality show Siesta Key, which is like a show that for our family likes because it's like that's where our family vacations. It's a ridiculously stupid show though. It's like it's like Real World but with people from Siesta Key. And this kid, it was all filmed last summer, but this kid from Arizona State is on that team, and he's in the thing. So it's pretty funny to watch. But anyway,
maybe hold on. This is something that people don't know. Mario Lemieux's kid Austin is on the Arizona State team. They have a lot of famous kids.
Yeah, they might. That's two pretty famous kids right there for a college hockey team.
But again, he's got 13 points in 28 games. Like this is the downside. Teemu Salami's kid plays in college hockey too, and he's just not very good.
Well, you can't. It's really unfair for those kids to be Mario Lemieux's kid. I guess it's not unfair.
Whereas Louis DeBrusque and Ty Domi's kids are very good.
Yeah, no, you never know. Look at that. Exactly. You never know, right? There's it can go any which way. We will get into the playoff run and we'll get into all the different things. And, we're not going to talk about it too much today because I'm sure you guys have talked about it enough while I was away and proved that by now the Flyers are out of it, which they aren't. So we'll get into that. But here we go. Let's do the show. Ready?
Let's do it.
The day is the March 22nd. Yes. Okay. 3, 2, 2. Breathe. Hello, Hockey World. It's Friday, March 22nd, 2019.
I'm Michael Lagello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund, and you're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And for those of you in the chat room, if you've ever been in the chat before, what you do is go to YouTube, and on the right-hand side, you'll see this chat room where this is playing. And we've got a great group of people in there, and they help us throughout the show because they point out, the things that Mike's wearing and things like that, so we can sort of get things together.
Yes, no gray today.
No gray today.
No gray.
No. I'm wearing gray and black, see?
Yeah. It's funny because most of you guys actually listen. I'm wearing the Philadelphia Zoo pullover that I got at the zoo today, walking around with my son after his appointment. The oldest zoo in the country. Anyway, so
good zoo. I like
it. Yes, it is. The great zoo. So moving on, let's first, and by the way, if you're you can address the jerseys behind me. I have changed a bunch today, but the one thing that I got really cool was this my family got because I played in that game outside. They thought it was going to be funny to get me one of these. So they got me this up here. This that's the what do you call it? The Stadium Series Flyers jackets. So my number on it. So there you have it. It's all fun. So anyway, let's talk about last night's game because, like my title of the blog today, the Habs or Habs not. That was a good night for the Montreal Canadiens. A really good night for the Montreal Canadiens.
Like coming off that Flyers game, like I had mentioned.
Yeah,
I said if they could play like that on the road,
they're
going to win games down the stretch, and they played like it again. They did.
What's the deal? I'm really impressed. This is a team that we all knew they were fast and young, and that was their thing, right? They could score, but suddenly, like the Flyers, who have been scoring, getting lots, they were just literally shut down in that game.
Yeah,
they looked. They looked tired, and everything was wrong with them. But the Canadiens made them. Canadiens had a lot to do with that. And then last night they shut out the Islanders, another high-scoring team. So.
Well, I think that's more to do with the Islanders. Honestly, the Islanders lately, and even
they haven't scored lately. The Islanders,
the Islanders are in trouble. Even with superhuman Thomas Greiss in net, they're not really able. You can't if you don't score goals, you can't win. And they played terribly against the Bruins, and they played equally as bad against the Canadiens. They've been shut out 2 straight, I believe.
Yeah,
and they need to score goals. And I think our ex-colleague Dan Petru was asking where to put out an APB on Matthew Barzal because he hasn't really done much lately. And if Barzil's not doing enough, and you're not getting goals out of Lee and Nelson and those guys, you're not going to win. And it's not locked into place that the Islanders are making the playoffs.
That's a pretty.
I think they'll make it, but they're in trouble.
I mean, them not making it would be equivalent to the Flyers making it. I think, as far as long shots go, when you say
right, yeah, they have 91 points. I think they're making it.
I mean, they got enough points as it goes along. Are they? They are a team that you wouldn't mind playing in the first round. I mean, because there aren't many teams in NHL playoffs, I think, that are going to be maybe an easier team to play than the Islanders right now. I mean, you never know. The playoffs are the playoffs, and Barry Trotz's teams have always done well in the playoffs. But they're at 9. They're only 3 points out of first place. I mean, we say all this. They're not that far out here.
No.
I mean, they're 3 points out of first place, and they are 4 points out of a wild card spot. So that tells you how close it is all around over there. Besides Tampa and Toronto and Boston, I mean, Tampa and Boston, it's all really it's a 10-point difference between, or no, it's an 8-point difference from.
Now remember, even though the point differential for the Flyers is 5, they lose the road too, so that's like losing another point.
Yeah, they have. It's really 6 for them, and I mean the saving grace for them, and what I've said all along.
There's no saving grace.
There is a saving grace. Now, listen. Had we had a show the other night after the Montreal game, I was all like, okay, that's it for them. But then, of course, last night they win, and Carolina and Columbus lose. So, I mean,
they have no chance of catching Carolina. 0. Carolina's 7 points ahead.
They have a very good chance of catching Carolina.
0 chance.
They have 2 games against Carolina. First off.
Right, so that's 4 points.
That's 4 points. So there's another 3 points in there. Carolina's schedule is ridiculous, as we've seen. I mean, they're playing very well. They
give it up for crying about him. Oh my God! I mean, honestly, the Flyers are done. They've been done since January. They're done.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. I'm going to wait till after this weekend to say they're done. Okay. This weekend they have the Islanders and they have the Capitals. Okay. That's
so they're going to sweep those, right?
No.
Now here's where
they have to hold on, but they have to sweep those. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
They can't lose.
No, they do. They have to get another point out of somewhere. Because my thing right now, okay, my projections, which have been pretty good.
Yeah, go ahead.
They've been pretty good lately. Have them missing the playoffs, but by a point. Okay, so now that they would have to, so they've got to get a win out of Washington, which it doesn't have. It hasn't losing straight up to Washington, so that's the difference. And then they have to get another win out, or another win. There's only 2 losses it has the Flyers doing the rest of the way, so that's like obviously not likely to happen. But all against each of those teams, they've got good records. Like the Islanders, they've handled pretty well lately. The Capitals are playing awesome. That beating the Capitals is probably out of the question.
Here's where Russ and I will disagree. I look at the West right now,
right?
And based on because I watched some of the game last night between the Flyers and the Hawks, and the Hawks didn't look good last night, losing 3-1. But mathematically and games wise, the Hawks have 74 points and a game in hand on Colorado, Arizona, and Minnesota, and they play Colorado in the next game tomorrow afternoon. They win that game. Points.
That was accident. I actually muted you by accident. Sorry about that.
They're at 76. They're at 76 points, and they're within 2 points of a playoff spot. I think they're in it. I don't think Philadelphia's in it.
Okay, so you think they're in it? What was that?
What's that?
Because that again. Because I'm sorry, I was trying to fix your audio. Was clipping a little bit, so I was trying to fix it.
Because Crawford is back.
Yeah,
because they've played great down the stretch. They lost yesterday, but I think they had won 5 in a row before that. And I mean, if they beat now, it's going to be tough to beat Colorado in Colorado. If they lose Saturday afternoon, they're done. I think they're done. But I think right now, if they win that game and they're at 76 and they've gained 2 points on Colorado, moving away from them, then they're still. I mean, 2 points is 2 points.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I mean, the battle right now, honestly, in the West to me is coming down to Arizona, Minnesota, and Chicago. I think those 3 teams, honestly. I think one of those 3 makes a wild card spot. That's how I feel. I feel Dallas will make it. But the other 3 are all going to be tight. I mean, and Colorado's in there too. I mean, they're really not that far out of it, but
well, I'm surprised. Because Colorado overtook Arizona yesterday because Arizona lost to Florida and Colorado beat Dallas.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that Colorado has stuck in it without Landeskog because they lost Landeskog about a week ago, And I thought basically they're done then, and they're not. They've stayed in it. So I mean,
I mean their schedule is hard. I mean they've got, first of all, and one of the big things there, like you said, Chicago twice, and they've played well against Chicago. So that's not the question that they could take that. They've also got Dallas. They've got they had Dallas last night. Sorry, right? They had Dallas last night. So they've got Las Vegas, who is beating everybody right now.
Yep.
Then they've got Arizona, who's going to be playing for a playoff spot, and traditionally does extremely well against Chicago. And then they've got the Blues. I mean, the Oilers are their only easy game. Blues, Winnipeg, San Jose. So San Jose's got to get their act together. Winnipeg's got to get their act together. These are teams. There are some teams that are struggling there.
I looked at the schedules for Winnipeg and Nashville. Winnipeg, I mean, they have a game in hand and they're 2 points ahead. They play Nashville on Saturday. That's the last time they face each other this season. Nashville's schedule is really easy. The last 6 games, they play 5 non-playoff teams.
Right.
Winnipeg, they have a 4-game homestand and they end with 4 games on the road. So it's a little bit of a tougher of a road for Winnipeg. And I'm still, the thing is like they've been able to keep their head above water without Bufflin and without Morrissey. So I tip my hat to them. But the thing I don't understand about Nashville, they've gotten no bump whatsoever out of Simmons, who's got 1 goal and 1 assist, out of Granlund, who's got a goal and 3 assists. They have the second worst power play in the NHL with the firepower that they have. Something's not right there. They're depending too much on Pekka.
Blue Jackets, same thing. I mean, they got guys and they're getting nothing out of them.
I mean, Simmons is an interesting case because he definitely does not look fast enough to play with them when I watch them. Because you forget how fast Nashville is. Nashville's a very fast team. I think that matters a lot now and will matter. But I think there's a time in the playoffs when Simmons will help them. That's what you got to hope for if you're at Nashville. Like he's not.
It's still a prayer though. It's not a guarantee.
No, it's not like a guarantee, but he didn't give up a lot to get him either. I mean, it's they gave up Hartman, who was a good fit for the Flyers and everything. But I think in the end of the day, if Simmons helps their power play in the playoffs, that helps them. That's where they need to go. That's right. So that's why they did that. But yeah, I would have liked to get more of a bump out of it too. And they're playing some tough games. But last night, and Lord Olbermann said this in the chat room perfectly. It's absolutely true. When I watched that Pens game, man, the Penguins for the first time finally showed that they can play defense again in that game. Like they picked
up a lot of guys. It took them a little bit to work their way in, but Branson's playing well and Weidman's playing well, and that group now is pretty cohesive.
Yeah, they needed to be able to clamp down. They needed to be able to hold because that team. When you think about the leads that the Penguins have lost lately, and tons of them. I mean, they've gotten scored on. I mean, they got scored on in back-to-back games against Carolina and Philly with the other team's goalie pulled and lost in overtime back-to-back games. And then you go back to that happened also at the outdoor game with Philly. It's like they've had a lot of these situations where they're giving up goals with goalie pulled, which is not like. Pittsburgh is usually when you pull your goalie against Pittsburgh, you really are hoping with a prayer because they've got players that are going to kill you on when your goalie's out. Mm-hmm. So, I mean that's been really good. I think that but they now have gotten to the point where, although Matt Murray doesn't look right to me. I don't know what it is, but
everybody's picking on Matt Murray. You know what? He's making the saves he needs to when he needs to.
Oh yeah, no, I know that, but I'm not
really worried about him.
I know people are picking on him because I haven't been reading stuff. So.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah. Ever since the outdoor game, it's like Matt Murray doesn't look good, blah blah blah. But you know what? He's still winning games, and like I said, he's making the saves he needs to make. That's all I care about.
Give me a goaltender. Give me a goaltender that has the pedigree of winning 2 Stanley Cups.
No, I know that, but we've seen a lot of Matt Murray. We know what Matt Murray is playing right, and I'm not going off of anything. I'm not going off even the amount of goals he's given up or anything like that. I'm just going off of his stance and like his not being like square to the puck a lot and not being prepared for shots. Like sort of, he's a big goalie. You always forget how big Matt Murray is. He's a very big goalie. So when he's playing at his best. He's not standing quite as upright as he is right now. Like he looks bigger and taller. He kind of has like a Steve Mason type look going on right now. And that's not really normally Matt Murray's style. So something's up there just a little bit. I don't know what it is, but I've noticed that, he's making saves because he is so big still. But
think about this. Here's his last 5 games, right?
Yeah.
And people are legitimately picking on him. He had a .966 save percentage yesterday, a .949 the game before, a .947 the game before. Then one against St. Louis, he stunk. He had a 692 and a 927 against Washington. So that's Washington, Philly, Carolina, Nashville, all teams that were winning pretty well down the stretch. Like, he's doing his job.
Yeah, no, he is. He is. No question about it. I mean,
actually, a little bit more, to be honest. But it doesn't look good when someone gives up a late goal, so everybody goes, oh, my God, now we got to worry about Matt Murray.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I'm saying that's what a lot of people are doing.
No, I mean, it just doesn't look – I don't know. The eye test isn't the right now for him as a goalie to me. Like sometimes, I don't know, certain things there are a little bit wrong. Now people are asking, and I'm getting tweeted at about how the Flyers can possibly make the playoffs. So can I run through this real fast, and then we'll be done with it? That'll be it. Really quick.
We'll be done with it, but go ahead.
Really quick. I promise this will be it. Okay. But if you're the Flyers fan, this is what you need to hope for. Okay, you are not catching Columbus. There's no way, shape, or how. And I don't care what the standings are right now. You're not catching Columbus because Columbus.
There's a song that was written. It's called "All I Need Is a Miracle" by Mike the Mechanics.
I'm just gonna play this out for everybody. Columbus' schedule is too favorable for them down the stretch. They have literally they've got Ottawa, they've got Buffalo. They have another game against the Islanders. They've got Vancouver. I mean, Columbus just has too many easy points down the stretch, I think, to catch them. Carolina is the team you have to be looking at. Carolina and Montreal. So, because Columbus is going to get that other spot, I think. So, Carolina and Montreal. Let's go Carolina for a second. This is what you need to happen, okay? You need them to their next game is against Minnesota. You need in my scenario, whatever, it has them beating their next two games, Minnesota, Montreal this weekend, 23rd, 24th. I have them winning both of them. Okay, so understand the way I have them set up now. They have to right now. They're finishing 1 point ahead of the Flyers in the standings. Okay, so they've got to lose a point somewhere in there. Then I have them losing to Washington because then they play Washington back to back. So Minnesota, Montreal, Washington. These next 4 games are crazy for Carolina because Montreal is playing well. Montreal and Minnesota are battling for their lives. Washington is just they're a machine right now. And then then Carolina goes to Philly and Pittsburgh on back to back nights next weekend. And then ends with Toronto, New Jersey, and Philly. So, at those points, they're going to get points out of there. So that's the team you're looking at. Honestly, if you're a Flyers fan, Carolina is the team you're looking at because Montreal's schedule, you got to hope that maybe Montreal won't be able to keep this up. You don't know. I mean, Montreal's got a relatively easy schedule, so they've got a good shot at making it. Right now, actually, it has them finishing ahead of the Flyers on ROW. So
my calculator says no.
What was that?
My calculator says no.
All right, so Montreal's got Buffalo.
The Stanley Cup says no.
Montreal this weekend is Buffalo and Carolina. So that Carolina game, you don't want that. That cannot be a 3-point game for you Flyers fans. Okay, Montreal, Carolina, you got to stay away from 3 points. And by the way, last night the Flyers-Chicago game, third period. When you're looking at 2 teams trying to make a wild card in separate conferences, you want to see 2 teams trying to get to overtime. Last night was crazy bad. It was just like that was the epitome of the 3-point game. Like there were no shots taken. Like for the first 12 minutes of the third period, no one took a shot practically. All right, so Montreal's got Buffalo and Carolina. Then they got Florida, Columbus, Winnipeg, Tampa, Washington, Toronto. That's Montreal's schedule. They're not very good against Tampa, Washington, or Toronto in general. So those are the 3 teams that you have to hope that they can't win. But the next couple games, Montreal could get in this thing, and then you got to hope for Montreal to falter at the end. And then finally the Flyers thing, and then we'll be done with this, I promise. The Flyers right now have okay, so they just played Chicago. They've got the Islanders and Washington this weekend. Now, my thing is I'm only getting 1 point out of those 2 games this weekend and still finishing just 1 point behind Carolina. Now, that sounds unlikely. So they have to get more than 1 point. Remember, they're still finishing behind Carolina. So they've got to get I think they've got to get 2 or 3 points out of this weekend at least. But then Toronto, who they have usually played well against, they had a bad game against them. And then they've got the 2 games against Carolina, which the Flyers have had good success against recently. They've got to win both those games, obviously. And then we've got the Rangers and Dallas. They've got to win both those games. And then the St. Louis Blues are the other game, which I have them losing. So there's not – basically that's the Flyers going right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 2, and 1 the rest of the way and finishing 1 point out. So
okay, that's not happening. Okay.
Just letting you know. If you want to know what to look for, don't worry about Columbus's games. Look at Carolina and look at Montreal. Montreal late, especially. Anyway, there you have it. That's it.
Okay, let's move. Let's talk about the news of the day, which is there is an NHL owner who is certifiably insane, because
that's news.
Eugene Melnyk Eugene Melnick goes on Toronto radio yesterday and basically insults his fan base, saying he didn't know the difference between, certain fans and real Ottawa fans, and then said a lot of criticism was coming from some 12-year-old kid who was in Toronto and he sounded unhinged at times, especially in he did another interview in Ottawa, on Ottawa radio, and it wasn't on the sports station there, TSN 1200, because he thinks that they are biased and that Ian Mendez, who is a reporter, is biased and Bush League, I think was the term that he used against him. And then on top of that, he's offering criticisms on the Maple Leafs rebuild, saying, well, they've screwed up their rebuild. They didn't think about their defense. You're the team that traded your #1 overall pick for a guy who's no longer on your team. Those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
You buried the lead. The lead was he basically said that Mark Stone at 26 is too old to give a long-term deal to.
Yeah, and on top of that, he told the mayor of Ottawa, in a very nice way, to shut up.
Yeah, but he's 26 years old. If you give him an 8-year deal, it makes him 34. So for another website that I write for, I put Sidney Crosby's 31, Alex Ovechkin's 33, Carey Price is 31. If they were all on the market right now, they would all get long-term deals.
I'm telling you right now, this is my conspiratorial mind, and we've talked about this scenario before. Eugene Melnick continues to do everything possible to alienate the fan base in Ottawa, to not get them to show up for games. I'm telling you right now, it's like he's trying to get that city to turn against him so we can move them and sell them to Quebec City. It really,
I don't know what it is, but something's going on, because that was just there. The basic point that I want to make here is, aside from the lunacy of the 26-year-old thing, is when you draft players, by the time you get them, most of the time they're 21, 22.
Right.
So that means they'll never, ever, ever win a cup, because most players are only going to play 4 or 5 years for the Ottawa Senators, and then if they don't sign a short-term deal, they're going to be traded.
And what
we go with that logic.
The way that they operated this year, trading Carlson before the season, and then trading Duchesne, and then trading Stone, all those players were on their second contracts. Not making more than $9 or $10 million. They were on. I think Duchesne was in the 7s. I think Stone was at 7.5, and I think Carlson was around the same thing. It tells you that they traded them before they got to the next contract, because Eugene Melnick doesn't have the money or isn't willing to pay them that much. So, okay, if you're going to operate that way, you're, like Russ said, you're never going to win. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if the NHL, we know that they can point things in certain directions when it comes to ownership. Maybe they'll help him get a team president that can actually, keep him out of the news. But he's a guy, he's like Steinbrenner in a way, in the sense that he's got a fixation on being noticed in the news. And it's like, the problem is that he doesn't have the world championships that Steinbrenner had, or the willingness to spend money like Steinbrenner had. He just has that insatiable need to be in the press, to be in the news. And honestly, for Ottawa fans, I don't know how you can stand this guy anymore. And there are probably not too many that can.
No, to go after Ian Mendez is kind of lame. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, Ian Mendez is a class character. But he's always been classy, and he I don't know if we saw it with Ian Mendez tweeted out, but this is he tweeted this out. I'll show a picture of this here. It's pretty.
The bouquet of flowers with
it's right here. So he puts out this tweet. He's like, this is something that he says, I'm gonna have one final tweet today. My daughter had brain surgery 2 years ago. I received this surprise package at the hospital. And I was always kind of continue and see the best in people, even when we have a professional disagreement.
Okay. That's
so
nice.
And and I've gotten things like this too from people before, from people in the league too. And there are, people do understand the difference between professional and non-professional. Right now, Melnick is definitely in a bind. Melnick has painted himself into a corner. There's no question about that. He's a very frustrated guy. He's got to be frustrated. There can't be anything that sucks more than the fact that they traded this draft pick away. That's got to be like just absolutely killing him. There's no way that
The funny thing is that most people have counseled basically when it comes to Melnick, restraint. When it comes to him, stay out of the news. Let the season play out. Let your team lose their last 7 or 8 games, whatever they're going to do. Let the season end. Do your, if you're going to do a search for, do a new search for your coach, just stay out of the news. And Melnick, 2 weeks before the playoffs, when they will disappear off the face of the earth until the draft. I mean, he goes out there and he just brings attention upon himself. He's a disaster. I would hate to be the PR of the Ottawa Senators. He's uncontrollable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot for them to be in, no question. Are they trying to move them, Mike? Is a good question. It's possible.
I mean, I maybe I'm way off base here, but just the dissolution of the LeBreton Flats project, and basically the dismantling of the team, the meeting that he had in Toronto with some investors where he basically said they're going to be competitive in 2 or 3 years, so we're basically not going to spend any money until 2021. Okay, I mean that's all fine and good, but the thing is, don't expect any fans to show up in Canada for your games. You're basically ensuring you're going to have 4,000 people there, unless it's a Leaf game or a Habs game, and then you'll have 16,000 Leaf fans or 16,000 Hab fans.
Yeah,
what are you going to have?
I have some breaking news.
Okay,
there's it's an interesting draft rumor because apparently, and again, I'm hearing this from a German reporter, so that. Apparently, Steve Yzerman's in Germany, and he still represents Tampa.
Yeah, he
said he would help out, and so they were checking out Moritz Seider, who I just wrote about for EP Ringside. People could check it out, but he's a 6'4" German defenseman that's going to go pretty high in this draft. So I would have to say that Tampa must have some interest in him.
Yeah,
or if he takes a job with Detroit, Detroit might have interest in him.
Well, right now he's representing Tampa, Mike.
I know.
That's all I could say.
I know. But we've heard the rumors about him potentially joining the Red Wings organization after.
Sure.
I don't know how.
First, I've heard that he's actually still doing something for Tampa.
Right.
Yeah, that's. There's a lot of rumors out there about Yzerman going to Detroit. Tons. I mean, that's
sure, but right now he's still out there for Tampa. That's
doing stuff for Tampa right now for sure. But it's going to be, I don't know. You got to wonder. That's a good one. So Nick Kucherov last night becomes the first player in 20 years to reach 120 points in 75 games or fewer.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, think about that. 20 years.
I think we can shut down the voting for the Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hart voting is over.
He has been so good. He's been so good. I mean, it's like he just really has been. I mean, and he's so smooth too. I mean, Kucherov, that's the thing about him. He's just so smooth. He's not.
But to say that, I mean, yeah, it's exactly true. But the Tampa Bay Lightning this season will be a failure unless they win the Stanley Cup.
No, that's not true.
I think it's true. I mean,
not true because there are years that teams don't win it because things happen. I mean, I won't say that.
Well, I mean, okay, I will.
Well, I think I agree with Mike on this because I hate to put that kind of pressure on them, but at the same time, when you have they're having a legendary season, beyond just a good season.
Yeah, it's like 77 Canadians type of year.
I mean, they've got to at least make the finals. I'm not good. I mean, I think they've got to make the finals. I mean, if they make the finals, then you can say anything.
Well, I mean,
knocked out before the finals. That's a tough one.
What was proven this week, or at least a couple days ago, when Tampa and Washington met, is that Washington is, Washington, their goal is to repeat. And, they had that Stanley Cup hangover in the middle of the year and lost 7 games in a row. But since after the All-Star break, they've been one of the best teams in the league. And they, like an experienced team, maybe took the foot off the pedal a little bit and said, okay, we know that we can probably still win the division with a good rush. And right now they're 2 points ahead of the Islanders, so they could finish first in the Metro and face the Lightning in the Eastern Conference Final. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not betting against Tampa, but I don't know if I would bet that series if I had to put money on it. If it's Tampa, Washington, I think it'll go 7 games, and whatever it goes 7 games, you really can't pick it because it's so close.
It really is. It really is. And both those teams have had their share of winning 7-game series and their share of losing 7 games.
Oh yeah.
So it's like,
well, it's funny because we mentioned this earlier this week, and when it comes to playoff time, I look at things objectively as somebody who's been an observer of the league for a long time, but I also, because a lot of people out there are in playoff fantasy hockey leagues, and they look at matchups and things of that nature when it comes to the postseason. And if I was, trying to project the West, and I look at the fact that the team that's going to have home ice advantage throughout the Western Conference doesn't have a goaltender that they can depend on, that throws everything off kilter. And one of the other favorite teams, San Jose, who's had a great year, they're playing the hottest team. They're conceivably going to play the hottest team in the league in Vegas with one of the best goaltenders who had an unbelievable playoff last year. I don't know if I want to be in the position of Calgary and San Jose. They're the top 2 ranked teams in that conference, and they have so many question marks right now based on who they're going to play and based on who they're going to put in net.
Yeah.
That they could be early outs. And I'm not talking about a second, third matchup like Boston and Toronto. I'm talking about a team playing a wild card and losing because their goaltending might not be good enough.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that, I don't know, when I look at Tampa and anybody who could possibly take them out, I think Montreal could be a problem for them. I mean, I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't say it's likely, but I think that, you've got Carey Price, you've got a situation there that could, that whenever you're playing against Carey Price, that's tricky.
I think the only team that would give Tampa a problem in the first round is if there was some way that Pittsburgh dropped down into the wild card and they played them, but Pittsburgh's too far ahead to do that. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to have any problem with a Carolina or a Columbus or Montreal. I mean, Montreal's got Carey Price, but they need to score, and I don't think they can score with Tampa Bay. So they may score enough to get into the playoffs, but they may not. They probably do not have enough offensive firepower to match Tampa.
That's fair.
Probably not.
And Columbus is a disaster right now. I mean, if they don't make the playoffs after all these trades, I mean, I hate to pile on Jarmo Kekalainen, and I know a lot of people in the media were saying, you gotta be hoping for Jarmo because it makes it much more exciting that a team actually went for it. But my assertion is, it only makes sense to go for it when you're already a good team. Like Tampa, if Tampa had added 2 or 3 players, or Washington, teams that are legitimate Stanley Cup contenders, then I say, okay, they're trading draft picks that are going all in. That makes sense. Columbus was a borderline playoff team when they traded for Duchesne, traded for Zingle, added McQuaid. It didn't make any sense.
Okay, but the interesting thing is, while it's easy to say that, they're still loaded with prospects. As an example, Neil Benstrom, who's 19 years old, he's a right wing rather, over in Sweden. He just broke Forsberg's record for rookie scoring. He's got 35 points, 23 goals. He's going to come over next year.
Right. And they had the goaltender that they just signed, Elvis. Mm-hmm. I think of his last name, but I know that they have prospects, and it's more just
it's a shot.
It's more just the mindset, Russ, of the fact that, youth. Nobody in their right mind thought this team was gonna, by adding these guys, we're gonna ascend to a Stanley Cup contender status.
I mean, there's no way we can know that Panarin would go 14 games without a goal. Like that's.
Yeah. It is, and it's not good. I mean, it's a shame for that team. I mean, looking at they went to Kukalainen a couple times last night in the press box, and you can tell that Jarmo is just at its end. I mean, and then they looked half decent last night too. I mean, they in that game against. I mean, it was Edmonton, granted, but they had moments where they ran into. Koskinen made some nice saves for them. Really crazy stuff. I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, well, when you can't beat Edmonton, then you're in trouble because
there's no doubt. Now, Edmonton has their own issues because how they have teams have the meetings with the season ticket holders.
Yes, the Bob. Oh boy, yeah.
And so the Edmonton Oilers had theirs, and Bob Nicholson talked about Tobias Reeder.
Now, was it recorded by a fan, or was it just like somebody?
I don't know how it got out there, but it got out there.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
Because I think I heard it must have been recorded on somebody's like video or audio recorder on their phone, because I did hear part of it, at least if I didn't hear it, I read the text of it. It was basically saying that Tobias Reeder hasn't scored a goal this year. We're not going to re-sign him. And if he had scored 10 to 12 goals, we'd probably be in the playoffs. If you think that that 12 goals is going to be the difference between you making and missing the playoffs when you don't have, two good defensemen and you don't have anybody up front except for Alex Chason, RNH, Draisaitl, and McDavid, then, somebody snuck some psychedelic mushrooms into your panini sandwich, because I mean, honestly, I don't understand it. And I know that they have to throw red meat to the fan base. They have to throw red meat to the season ticket holders because they're pissed off that they've wasted thousands of dollars. I get it.
Yeah.
But you can't say that stuff and expect it not to get out.
No, it's true. And so it did get out, and he apologized, but it does sort of pull back the curtain a little bit on, just what's not going on there. And so now you have an issue where the team's got a bit of a PR problem again.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what their direction is. We don't know. I don't know if the fans there found out what their plans are in free agency, in the draft. I don't know if they gave them any kind of outline on it. All we know about is him complaining about Tobias Reeder.
Hell, I mean, we don't know. We don't even know who the general. They don't know who the general manager is going to be. I don't think I know that there have been some interviews, but probably a decision's not going to be made until after the season, because there are certain people that they probably want to talk to that they haven't had a chance to talk to. So
yeah, I mean, here's a point of contention. In 72 games, maybe Milan Lucic should have more than 5 goals and 18 points.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. What you're doing is you're propping up, and I can't give you the exact word for word description, but apparently Ken Hitchcock the next day was basically like saying that Tobias Reeder could cure cancer. He was that effusive in his praise. He's a great team player and all this stuff. We're just covering his general manager or his team presidents behind.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, again, for the bad deal that it was, and I remember saying how bad of a deal Lucic was for Edmonton. His goals have gone down now from 23 in 82 games to 10 in 82 games to 5 in 72 games. 5 goals on that team.
Making $6 million a year.
And he's got a few more years.
I think at least 3. I think it's 3.
I mean,
this is where we've talked about what Edmonton can do, what they can do, because there's been some talk in terms of reference to the Toronto model. If Daryl Cates wants to spend some money and bury some of these players, just pay them their money, like Joffrey Lupul, like Robida, like David Clarkson, until they traded him. They can do that. They can say, Milan, we've discovered you've got a hairline fracture of your pelvis. That's going to prevent you from playing the remaining 3 years of your contract. We'll pay you in full, but you're not going to play for us.
Yeah, I mean, that may be a way to sort of start turning the page, because he can't do anything for them. Or just send him down to Bakersfield, give him the Wade Redden deal and just see if he can find his game. Or like Matt Molson, either way,
The problem is you can only bury a little over $1 million, and it's like Matt Molson. Then you still have $5 million on the books for the next 3 years. I mean, that doesn't really solve the problem. I mean, it buries it. You're not seeing it every day.
No, I mean, that's better than nothing.
Yeah,
essentially nothing out of him.
I mean, the future for the Oilers is developing Puljujarvi, who's now going to be recovering from double hip surgery, so that puts his career in doubt.
Yeah.
Yamamoto, Evan Bouchard, whoever that they draft in the first round this year, which by their luck, that they'll probably be Jack Hughes. So, I mean, but it's okay. Mike, do you want to take some questions?
Sure. Yeah, let's take some questions. That sounds good.
Hang on, I'll be right back.
Okay, so throw any questions into the chat room you can, if you want to, and we can get to them. I've got like 2 minutes before we have to go. So, but yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah. Sorry, no, there's a delay. So, in the meantime,
but while we're waiting for questions, let me just say this. I said this on Twitter. I'm not trying to start any kind of ruckus, but I'm just gonna say this, and I don't think it's controversial, but I think it's true. Braden Holtby came out today and said he was not going to go to the White House.
I heard that too. Yeah,
and you know what? He's got every right to do that. I'm not criticizing that at all. If he doesn't want to do it, he shouldn't. If he doesn't like the current president, I get it. I have heard no criticism of him. That just makes me think that, what was it, 7 years ago when Tim Thomas did the same thing?
Yeah.
All the criticism that he got, a little bit of a hypocrisy there, where he gets excoriated because he didn't go to the White House. I don't care if it's a different president. He didn't like that guy, and Holtby doesn't like this guy. It's equal. But Thomas got raked over the coals because it was Obama.
I'm going to tell you, there is a difference. There's one difference. I think everybody should show up no matter what. So I think Holtby should show up. But the difference is, this time with Tim Thomas, the media was there and there was going to be a ceremony. There's actually no ceremony for this.
No.
They're literally just, there's no media. There's no ceremony. He's trotting them into the Oval Office. I don't know how long they're going to be there. They're going to be there like, what, 20 minutes, a half hour, hour? And they're going
they'll be there. They'll be there for as long as Putin can sneak out of the Kremlin.
Right. But the idea is, if you as a player don't feel like that's worth your time, I can't blame you, because, again, it's supposed to be a bigger event than that. I covered 3 of them in the White House, and it's a bigger event than that. And now it's been boiled down to a very small event and a private one, which is weird.
Yeah, and it's really become such a political thing.
Right.
It does make me crazy. I mean, it shouldn't be political. It should be something.
No, it shouldn't be political, but it should be an event. It should be open to the media so fans could see it.
Right.
And it's not going to be.
Right. I'm just struck by the difference.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Me too. All right, take a couple quick questions real quick. We will do the NHL Draft Simulator. I got that ready to go.
Okay.
Tort's finished. If they don't make the playoffs, Tortorella.
I think he will be finished if he doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I kind of think so too. I think it's hard not. I mean, will Yarmo be finished if they don't make the playoffs?
He had an extension. So did Tortorella, but I think Yarmo's
safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that when he made these moves, he clearly talked to the ownership about this before he made all these. Made all these crazy moves. No, he clearly got the go ahead to go for it from the ownership. So it's not.
Yeah.
That that's for sure. All right, let's see. What do we have here? Will I get a face tattoo if Philly misses the playoffs? No, I will not get a face tattoo if Philly misses the playoffs. Sorry.
You should, though.
I should not. People think this is because of the Flyers, and it's not because of the Flyers. I'm doing the same thing for Montreal, who's only 1 point ahead of them at 1 point. So, hey, all the same. Let's see. Should we see Sheldon Keith brought in as an assistant under Babcock for next year if the Leafs don't get past the first round in the playoffs?
No. I do think that there's a possibility that Babcock's staff is going to be changed around because DJ Smith has been named as one of the potential guys who could get yanked into the Ottawa coaching situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Sheldon Keefe, I think he's going to stay with the Marlies. If Babcock brings in an assistant to replace somebody, it'll be somebody of his choosing. I think Keefe is there and we won't go into all the talks this week that we've had about Dubas and Babcock. Babcock came out today and said it was much ado about nothing, which I don't think is the case, but they're going to placate this and sort of shut it down before the playoffs because it doesn't really do anybody any good. But if Babcock has troubles over the next couple of years, Sheldon Keefe is the guy in waiting if he hasn't taken another NHL job. So I don't think he's going to be an assistant. I think he'll stay the coach of the Marlies.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's going anywhere until there's something definite in Toronto for him. But I don't think Babcock gets fired now.
No, he's not getting fired at all.
But next year would be a very big year for Mike, and he would have to have significant improvement to keep his job. I do think that.
Yeah.
I don't think he's in danger next year. I think he may be in danger the year after.
Oh, I don't know if it lasts that long. I'm going to say I don't know about that.
He's got to win a round pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been how many years, Mike?
15. 2004. The last Leafs coach to win a round in the playoffs is dead.
That's true. I went to his press conference that year too against the Flyers.
Watch out! Want to know, is Vegas the scariest team to go up against in the West right now?
Are they the what? Are they the
Vegas the scariest team in the West?
Yes,
I think
yes.
so.
Only at this moment. I don't know why. I'm an optimist. I feel like Winnipeg will be fine. Everybody's jumping on Winnipeg and they're jumping off. Actually, being on the road for 4 games, I think, is good for them because it gets them away from home and the pressure. I think Winnipeg will be a scary team the minute the playoff bell rings.
Well, I think they'll be scary, but right now the way Vegas is so hot.
I know, but
Winnipeg hasn't played meaningful games in a while. It's really, you can tell it's starting to catch up to them a little bit. They need.
They're playing one tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
They're playing Nashville. So.
Yeah. Someone says Mike has to wear a suit if the Flyers make the playoffs. We'll see about.
I think that's a good move. Yeah.
Okay. I'll make sure I get my suit clean and pressed.
Is Quenneville still an option for the Flyers? Yes. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, of course he's an option, but it's up to him.
And if he wasn't an option, they would have made Gordon the actual coach by now.
No, I don't think they would have. I think they were going to make him work for it regardless.
Yeah, maybe, but he's done really well. I mean, he has
done really well, but I don't think they were going to hand it to him either way. I think they would have made him wait the season. But I worry if they didn't have an idea that they were going to go after Quenneville, that the minute the season ended, they probably would announce his extension, but they're not going to do that now.
I still think if Boudreau gets fired in Minnesota, Quenneville would be the leading candidate there. He's probably the leading candidate in Edmonton because they're gonna need somebody to keep the Wolves at bay in Edmonton. Meaning a big name coach with a reputation of winning championships. If he wants to take that on, I'm sure he'll get well compensated for it too.
Caleb wants to know Johnson or Peterson once Mata comes back. Johnson, I think.
What's the question again?
When Ole Mata comes back, will Johnson or Pettersson, I guess, will Johnson or Pettersson be taken out of the lineup?
It'll be Johnson. It won't be Pettersson. Pettersson's done really well.
Yeah, Johnson.
I don't know if it'll be Johnson though, because I mean that contract is a disaster. It'll be Weidman that'll be taken out. It'll be somebody.
I don't know. Maybe Johnson's just.
I know, but they signed him for 5 years, Zach. It's like they
I know, but I mean, they also. I don't know how much they care about that at the end of the day when they're trying to make the playoff.
Right, and he's an experienced defenseman, and I mean that's the thing. I mean, he's not.
Is Cale Makar a lock for the Hobie Baker rush?
No, he's not a lock. I mean, Adam Fox will have something to say about that too.
Yeah, they talked about that on TSN a couple days ago. Russ saying they thought Makar was a lock. They think Makar is going to sign with the Avs soon after, and they threw up a lot of doubt about Adam Fox coming out and maybe going back to Harvard for his senior year.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I know, just what I've heard or whatever. As far as Cale Makar, I would not say he's a lock to sign with Colorado this year. He's going to sign with them, but he is very committed to the program. And I can tell you, I've spoken to people in Colorado, and they're not going to rush him. So they're not putting pressure on him. So it's entirely possible based on how far their run, UMass's run is this year, that he could go back.
Okay,
and
right.
Because it doesn't mean he's going to come out and go for some other team. I believe he's committed to Colorado. It's just a matter of he really loves the UMass program to the point that he wants people, he's trying to build the program. He's actually trying to do that for them. So it's an unusual circumstance. Now, Adam Fox could go back for another year. I don't know if Harvard will be good enough in another year that it would matter. So I think he is going to come out, and I think he is going to sign with Carolina. And if there's a chance that he could play in some games this year, then I think that's what he's going to do.
Okay. Makes sense. Mike wants to know, Steve James wants to know, is Joseph Wall going to get a call up from the Marlies at some point here?
Well, first he has to lose in college.
Yeah, you're right. He's a junior at BC.
Get a call to the Marlies. I'm sorry, get a call to the Marlies. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
He's a junior at BC. They're still in it until they get eliminated. He's got another year. It's very possible that he stays another year. I think the Leafs have a number of college guys that I think that they want to get signed. Dakota Joshua, who's at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know whether he's played his last game or not, but he might be signed as soon as Ohio State's year is ended. Wool's another one.
Yeah. I think the Leafs, in my personal belief, is I think the Leafs should sign Wool. He's playing great, and I don't know if BC's really going to do anything beyond this. So I would sign him if I could.
And the other thing is, Russ, they signed Garrett Sparks to an extension 1 year. They may sign him to another one the following year for one reason: expansion draft.
Right.
They won't have to worry about Wall or Ian Scott being exposed, but they have to expose a goaltender, and Sparks will have played enough games to qualify. So that's probably the only reason Garrett Sparks stays around another year or two, or they sign Michael Hutchinson and they trade Garrett Sparks. So the Leafs goaltending situation past Freddie Anderson is going to be pretty interesting the next couple of years.
It will. They've got a lot of guys. They do.
Will Lazinski sign with the Flyers, Russ?
If you're putting a gun to my head, I don't think he's going to.
Yeah. Well, I don't
have any inside information. I have nobody telling me anything. I got to take my dog out for a second, and then I'll answer the next question. I don't think so.
No, I will agree with Russ on that, but I think that I'm going to – I don't know. I wouldn't put a gun to Russ's head ever, but I would say that, if you were telling me, that you were going to steal my lunch unless I told you what was going to happen next, I would think he is going to find – I think he actually is going to sign with the Flyers from what I've heard. But it's 50-50. It's right on the edge. Just I would lean towards maybe that's glass is half full.
All right, let's do the draft lottery
simulator. Draft lottery simulator. Here it comes. Ready, guys? Here we go. We're going to simulate it right now. All right, nicely done. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And we have the Red Wings. All right.
That would be perfect.
Jack Hughes in Detroit. Boy, would they love that.
Well, I mean, he plays at the rink in Plymouth already, so this would be a short drive from Plymouth to there. So he's already acclimated to the area, Jack Hughes. So that would be pretty nice.
That would be something. That would be kind of cool. It would be kind of cool.
It would be cool.
I mean, I personally like when guys play.
And Ottawa fans would be.
Ottawa fans will be hot.
Yeah, because they're giving in this one they're giving Capo Caco to Colorado to join Landeskog, McKinnon.
That would be rough.
Yeah. And there is some speculation that some NHL scouts think that Capo Caco can play center. Like I don't know if that's
He says he can. I don't know if that's true, but we'll see what happens when he comes up. But I've not seen him play center, but I know he says he can.
Right.
Well, any player's going to say they can, right?
Right. It's hard to do it, though.
Yeah, on the NHL level, it's not like you can just do it.
No, look. I mean, at the NHL level, you can't. That's why Pierre-Luc Dubois did it before he got to the NHL. And he was successful, but most fail when they try it, honestly. But we'll see. I mean, it is possible. He is a high-end guy. I did want to answer this one other question because I saw someone ask, will Cooper Marody get a look with Edmonton before the end of the year? They already gave him a look. I don't think they're going to, but he's having a great year. I think next year he'll have an excellent chance of making that team. I do, but I think they already gave him the look. I don't think they're going to give him another one.
Yeah, and they want to concentrate on their AHL team having a good.
Have him go through the whole playoff run. Let him be the man. He's doing pretty great. He's got 51 points in 48 games. He's making me look good because he was my sleeper for the draft that year. And so I hope the best for this kid. But I've watched him play in the USHL and in Michigan, and he's a really good talent. That's all.
For sure. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Lots of great games. We'll know a lot more at the end of this weekend. When we talk to you on Monday, we'll have 3 more games, 3 more nights of games. Make sure you keep checking the hockey website, Hockey Buzz website, and you can, we'll keep putting up the new projected stances, and we'll tell you, on Monday we'll sit here and talk about why the Flyers can make it again on Monday. If the Flyers were to win both games this weekend, that'll make it interesting. But I really think that they've got to win both. So that's not what my thing is saying, but that's what I'm saying. Remember that it's just hockey. We will talk to you shortly.